Richard Brown is near the end of his career. For 37 years, Brown ruled as a state appellate judge, and since 2007, he's also served as a chief judge of the Wisconsin Court of Appeals. He was recently asked by the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel to pick out the most important opinion he's written, or the most significant case that was handled by his court. But that, he said, is like asking to choose between baseball greats Ernie Banks and Robin Yount. How can you really do that? Being an appellate judge has been a challenge, but Judge Brown said that the most professional challenges don't compare to the daily challenges he faces every day.
How do I survive? I think it's more mental than physical. I just have to tell myself that that this is the way life is now. It's not going to get any better. You just have to forge ahead and make each day count. At 5 years old, I had measles, and I ran 104 temperature, I'm told, and was delirious, I'm told, by my mother. And as a result, I lost my hearing in my right ear. I still had the hearing in my left ear and was near perfect hearing in my left ear. So I could largely participate communication-wise without much problem. Sometimes I would have to sit in the front of the room in school as opposed to the back of the room if it was a large room. But mostly I just blended in with everybody else. So everything was fine until I was in college. I heard a rushing sound in my left ear. It was like it wasn't a buzz, it was just a rushing sound. Very much concerned me because I depended on my left ear. And that continued, it didn't go away. So I was very nervous about it. And when I went home on break, then I told my parents they got me in to see a well-known otologist in Chicago who examined me and said that it was nerve loss and that it would settle and it would not be a significant problem once it's settled. So I just waited it out, and within about 3 months, all that sound went away, but my hearing had diminished. And about the time my first year of law school, I had another episode. So I went back to this doctor in Chicago, and he finally did a X-ray, and the X-ray showed a shadow. And he said the shadow suggests to him that I have a tumor in the left ear. So I went to Dr. House, and he said that my tumor, he had me do a CAT scan, which was new back then. It just been invented, and that confirmed that I had. That I indeed had this acoustic neuroma, which is what this tumor was. He also suggested that I have a cochlear implant put into the right ear. Now, he's the one who invented the cochlear implant.
A cochlear implant is very different from a hearing aid. Hearing aids amplify sound so that it may be detected by a damaged eardrum. The implant replaces the cochlear nerve, which converts sound waves into electrical pulses and then transfers that information to the brain. After the sound waves enter the eardrum, it passes through a collection of bones in the inner ear. The stirrup is the smallest bone in your body, about the size of a grain of rice, and passes sound vibrations onto the cochlear nerve. This nerve includes tiny hair particles that measure 1,000th of a millimeter. These hairs convert the vibrations into electrical pulses, and those pulses are sent to the brain. The cochlear implant is basically a wire that replaces the cochlear nerve. Hearing through a cochlear implant is different from normal hearing. It takes a patient time to learn or relearn how to recognize sounds and voices. However, it allows many people to recognize warning signals, understand other sounds in the environment, and enjoy a face-to-face conversation.
Beginning of 1982, I had another episode, and it really grew big time. It was a big episode. He said, well, we want to keep your hearing as long as we can, so we'll go in for surgery and we'll take out part of the bone and let the tumor expand that way. It'll press away from the optical nerve. So they took out part of that bone, and then I was fine again for a year. I had another episode, and it was really bad. So I knew this was it. And I called the doctor and Dr. House, and we discussed it. He said there was a doctor in New York who did it a different way and had reported some success. The surgery was arranged for January 4th, 1983 in New York, and this was the end of December, and I spent just about every moment listening to music because I wasn't going to hear music anymore. So, and I was a big fan of classical music, so I'm just playing the classical music over and over and over and over again, and of course rock. The last song I ever heard over the radio was "Dust in the Wind." And that I went to sleep after hearing that.
All my dreams pass before my eyes, a curiosity. Dust in the wind. All they are is dust in the wind.
I went in at 8, and I came out at 5, and they were monitoring my nerve the whole time. And about 4 o'clock, the nerve was cut. So that was the end of the story there. My wife had said, why don't you try your cochlear implant? And I completely forgot about it. It looked like a cigar box. It was real big. Dr. House was the first one to invent the idea of cochlear implant. It had 2 cords, and one cord would be for the receiver, like the microphone. Another cord would be attached to the electrodes that were implanted. I think the technology has come a long way in communication because we didn't have texting back then when I lost my hearing. We didn't have email. We didn't have alternatives to telephones.
Hello.
Lynn, it's Harold. I'm calling long distance.
What time is
2 a.m. your time, sleepyhead.
it? 2 a.m.
Oh, you would believe the money I saved by calling after 11 p.m.
Really?
For sure.
I could save you even more money, Harold.
Oh, baby.
We didn't have caption telephones. Now today I've got most of my communication that's outside of one-on-one is texting, or if I talk on the phone, I have a caption phone so I can read what the person is saying. I didn't have that before. Every day that I wake up, I'm faced with this reality that I'm deaf, and I'm going to have to live the day with this disability, whether I like it or not. And the way you cope with it is in the morning, you just say to yourself, this is life, this is reality, and just get on with your life and stop feeling sorry for yourself and stop moping and just let the day go by. Carpe diem, live for the day. And so that's how I cope. That's how I do it. for some reason, I thought that Dust in the Wind was written by the Eagles. So I just, Dust in the Wind, somebody was talking about Dust in the Wind. I said, oh, the Eagles. And they said, no, Kansas. And I said, oh my God, I've been thinking it was the Eagles all these years. It was Kansas. That's right, it was Kansas.